So we have a lot to talk about today, a lot of interesting information, a lot of news. And before we get into that, so some of our news does involve politics today, updates today, but I want you to check something out. This is really interesting.
Remember what Jesse Ventura said? Out of the blue, he says, running for governor. I'm there. I get in and stuff. CIA guys come in and start talking to him. What in the world does the CIA, which is about foreign operations, have to talk to him about as the governor of Michigan?
Yeah. You mean Minnesota?
Completely,
Isn't it
or
Minnesota?
Minnesota, yeah, Minnesota, yeah. So what the hell business do they have talking to him at all? I had multiple people, I'm not talking one or two, that worked for three-letter agencies and in military positions who got approached. This was like 10, 12, 14 years ago. Multiple of them, not just one or two. I got approached by so-and-so and they wanted me to run. I wanted to know if I was interested and they'd have money for me. I'm like, you know, who's who's giving that money? Where's it coming from? Why are they doing it? And then you say, okay, so three-letter agency people are willing to help people to get other three-letter agency people into office. You got Zuckerberg getting, in there over at Facebook, and he's it's a total plant. He didn't invent Facebook; it came out of DARPA. You got the same allegations with Elon Musk with Twitter. It's all AIs.
Do you think
It's not
Elon
real.
was there just to expose Twitter? That was his whole purpose. That's what he was meant to do. Do you think he was full of shit? He was never going to buy it.
Well, there it's all telling, isn't it? We've been saying now for over a year that 107, right, the famous boots, is actually 107 or DARPA coin 107. And he just tells you in that video right there that he is an agency person. What is this about agencies endorsing other agencies to become president or governor, right? So this goes into our update a little bit. So the full video, you can find it on Rumble. That's Nino, I think it's called. And there's a whole interview with him. It goes on for about 2 hours if you want to hear the rest. But more along the lines of the video goes on and on and on and on. And the further it goes on, the further you get to understand. Because he just starts talking and talking and talking. And he tells you a lot in that video. So very interesting. But we're going to fill in the gaps here today too. So heads of state. This is global. This is not just a US thing, although it also occurs here in the United States. And if it's not the CIA, then it's the old KGB generals. If it's not the old KGB generals, it's GCHQ in the United Kingdom. So this whole show about, oh my God, everybody is resigning and all this stuff, so it just means that it was time because the believability of their face wasn't believable anymore, right? So they had given so much stuff out that was needed to happen for them, right? They wrote the programs, they designed the programs, and then someone else designed the program for them. And then the orders would come from someone else and someone else and someone else. And this was until very recently. This has been a major breakthrough year for all of us because now what you have left with are your operatives. That's it. So when you see Pelosi going to Taiwan, just understand that someone told her to go there. She did not make that decision herself, although she's very arrogant, and she's a little bit different, than most. So let's talk about, we talked about control. So each, like even Trump, as an example, he had a group of agency people that was their guy, and it was time for that group, right? Now, these are also the same agency people, maybe a different sector of the agencies, like maybe the SES or the Space Force or the SSP that's running the thing that's there now. So when you say, we all know Biden is no longer with us, okay? We don't know what that show is all about right now, but they're just playing their role, okay? So you've got Pelosi maybe with one group, you've got Trump with another group that is being run completely. Not a word comes out of their mouth that doesn't come from some agency somewhere in the world. It has been like this since the beginning of politics. Politics was created as a show for you, and democracy as a show for you to participate or give you the illusion that you are participating in what's going on here. Okay? So, as far as the current situation that we are in, you have some groups of the agencies that were with what you call the Khazarian Mafia or the Rothschildian sector, right? You've also heard terms in Langley like Farm 41, Farm 42, Farm 43. What does farm mean? That is the group of agents that are loyal or created to run that particular president. So you had the Bushites and the Reaganites and the Trumpites and the whatever, and they're still doing it to this day, whether people are alive or dead. Now, we all know, and I've told you this before, that Bush Sr., as an example, died in 2014. I heard it firsthand within minutes of when it actually took place. That means his last usable clone passed away. And so they had no choice. But they didn't announce it to you until a couple of years ago. So in this video, he explains to you about timing, right? The timing of things, when they can announce things. Well, it's not about the president, and it's certainly not about you, and it's not about arranging a funeral, right? And it's not about the global geopolitical situation. It's about whether the group that is with that particular person is ready to give up their power, or they've found a significant replacement to be in power for that particular group. Okay. This extends all the way through DARPA. You've got it everywhere in every agency around the world. Doesn't matter what country you're sitting in. Sometimes if you're in Africa, you could be a Mossad president. In South Africa, you have a CIA president there. And that's who's really running your country. Okay. And this is really important as we discuss some of the events recently, right? So the beep show that's been going on within the Trump family that we have been discussing a little bit about, and we're not going to go into too much detail because we actually have some respect here. Now, unlike their own children, right? So we all know Ivana passed away a few weeks ago, and there was a funeral that took place on or around, I think, the 20th of July. Well, the eulogy information is leaking out and has been leaking out by a reporter saying that, oh, my mom used to beat me, and wow, woe is me, and all of this. But that whole show, okay, including the burial on a golf course, was all about Ivana and her control over everything. Trump didn't do it, she did it, right? And so, out of spite, let's just say a very close person, we've discussed this before, is the one that made that all happen. Okay? But it was the choice of the group of agency people to make that happen. Why? Because they knew they're not going to be able to keep up the lie much longer. Now, why can they not keep up the lie much longer? And why is it okay that it now would be a good time, right? Other than the threats that they're getting, to stop doing what they're doing from various people in the military that are sane versus the agency people that are running it, that thing, are not, right? And not very good operatives anyway, because you can see the show is a mess, right? Decided to bury the woman on the golf course after they found out she had a lot of contingency clauses in that will. So, although technically it would be the children, and technically it would have been the guy that's now passed away that would have had the inheritance, right? They thought if you get the executor of the will out of the way, where do you go next? Okay, I'll tell you where you go next. You go to a extremely long, long line of executors of attorney after attorney after attorney after attorney. Okay. There's even rumors going around that the last phone conversation, this is in the news, so I can say this part, that Eric Trump had with her the night before is when she touted, I will live until 120. And long after her death, with the long laundry list of attorneys and hoops and whatever, she will live till 120 years old. Congratulations, guys. You just wasted your time. Now, see, if you guys were good operatives that were running the shit show over there, sorry about the swear word, then you would have realized and actually checked it out first. You should have checked it out before you went ahead and did this whole mess, right? This could have been avoided. But anyway, now you're stuck with what she left you with. And actually, I think it's hilarious and quite karmic. So, yeah, that's what you get now. So, there you go. All your people that are running that show, the ones that are on the alt media, some of them, not all of them, that are claiming to be with an agency are getting their information from, that's their handlers that would be in the circle of trust, right? And then they pass it down to other people. Now, there are very few exceptions to the people who would have been the group that ran that person. And one of them is online. Okay. And we just told you all about it, didn't we? And he just told you all about it, matter of fact. Now, okay, continuing on. What a mess this week, right? Pelosi made. Now, why did she make such a mess? That's the important part. So her handlers, she's a little bit different than most politicians. She does have her own handlers for sure that tells her what to say and what not to say and what to do and what not to do. But she's also very arrogant and push, 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 right? I don't like my handlers. I don't want to do that. I don't want to do this. You know, she's horrible. She's like the dragon lady, right? She is not the dragon lady, so trust me. But she's a cantankerous old woman. Let's put it that way. This is the last usable clone she is on now at this point in time. That change happened recently. That's why she doesn't look anything like she looked before. So she actually made it all the way to the order giver, which is kind of unheard of because the order giver is very isolated. And she usually gives the orders to another general, and we're going to talk about her in a minute. I'm going to do her justice. So she usually gives the orders to another general in China, who then would give the orders to all of the American agencies and all of the British agencies and everyone else around the world. And then that information, like if your country is run by the CIA, as an example, then they would get passed down to those people's superiors from there. Usually done by hand, by courier, under severe threat, because these people are not nice people. Well, anyway, that information would then get passed down, and then your head of state would speak it. Blah, 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 lockdown, this is a pox, that's a pox, everywhere a pox, pox. And that would happen all because it came from the same place. Now, this lady has been doing this for a little while now. Probably since the orders and instructions started really failing that the former Coven masters and Coven members, and if you're new to us and you don't know what that is, I did an update on that and I explained that in detail just a couple of weeks ago. And those would have been normally the order givers. Well, this lady was just a special one. And we'll talk about her. So she is the one that has been actually communicating directly with Pelosi. So, yes, Americans, if you're watching this, the Speaker of the House is being run by an old Chinese woman. How's that for you? So, because Pelosi is so arrogant, so self-entitled, and so damn greedy, right? The deal was cut between the two of them. She was going to be the one to bring the gold from this crazy woman to the United States, told all her colleagues about it. I'm in touch with the top of the top. Well, not really, but you maybe in the Luciferian section, maybe she is the top of the top now, or was, and whatever. So She flew over there under her instructions, and then also the same woman also gave the orders to China to run all the drills and get all excited and everything. So remember, group of agency people, here's who you are. Okay? If you're the one that runs Pelosi, Trump, Biden, or anybody else, or Ramaphosa in South Africa, or Putin, or whatever, here's what you look like to this woman. Okay? You might be this person running this one, you might be that person, you might be this one, you might be this one, or these people over here. And so you think you're fighting this guy. If you're here, you're fighting this guy, right? And vice versa. So, what is this lady doing? She gave you your orders, and she gave the other people on this side your orders, and now she goes like this. Okay? So, we almost could have gone to war with China. But we, right, and Tom also, Tom Melville, spent all damn night talking to the Chinese people to tell them, hey, finger people, people of the fingers, this was all orchestrated by the woman living in your country right now for her to actually be there on the promise of wealth beyond her wild imagination, probably a harem and whatever else it is she wanted. Whatever it was she desired was given to her. Okay? She left early. She left just, I think it was yesterday, after she got the information, or 2 days ago, actually, after she got the information that that wasn't going to happen, and that when she tried to call the woman, no one answered the phone because the woman is dead. Okay? Not coming back. So at the time, her second in command, General Shu, was still alive, and he was actually telling her what had happened, right? So she left empty handed. She made a lot of promises, so she's going to have to fulfill those promises, just like Mr. Powell did last week on live TV. Congratulations, sir. You both lost complete and total credibility with everyone you made those promises to. So Pelosi is just now Pelosi. She is just the Speaker of the House. Her handlers have told her to just keep doing the Speaker of the House gig, right? Say this, say this, say this, to lockdown, monkeypox, blah, 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 and all the other stuff she's saying till they can figure out what else to do. So that is where she is today. There are a lot of people in the US that were, on the other hand, of the other fingers, wanting this one, Pelosi, to get arrested when she returned. Would that have worked? Well, no, because it's not in the agency people code of ethics, the fingers, the ones that run them like this. So that is why she wasn't arrested. That's why the U.S. Marshals were not granted the capacity to do that. On top of all of that, she was actually under the impression she was going to control the world's microchip facilities, which are in Taiwan. She made a lot of promises to the Taiwanese government when she stood up there and talked like an idiot, right? Yes, she did. Of course she did. She's going to be the one in control, right? And you're going to be her business partner, and you're going to rule the world's microchip supply. And I'm the queen of microchips, she said, right? You can just imagine she said something like that, right? I'm sure she did. I mean, she's just arrogant. So that is what happened with that situation that everybody is talking about, and the world is ablaze. Okay, so over the course of the last 2 weeks, I think it was probably since about the 19th, we've had a lot of really, really important agreements expire. Okay. I had my notes, and I'm sorry I forgot that piece of my notes. It didn't actually print properly. And by the time I figured it out, we were already live. So sorry about that. But I will put the list in our Telegram general chat for you to review. A lot of it had to do with soul contracts. And the major one that I wanted to at least talk about today, so you understand who this lady was the Klamath, no, sorry, not Klamath. It was the CARAT, KARAT, Consortium Trust Agreement. Okay. The CARAT Consortium Trust Agreement basically stated that the rule over the security of the gold that's in ground and above ground belong to a certain group of people with dark essence. Okay? And their job was to make sure that the light never got into the gold. That's why you only see Order of the Black Sun companies, Rio Tinto, all of these people running around the world doing all the mining, control over in ground assets, BLM, and its respective counterparty in your country. That is the reason for that. But how does that affect you as a person? This is the important part to understand. So, after that agreement started expiring, the dark essence, which protected security, security is control, guys, for the gold, started dissipating. This started just a couple of days ago. It'll be a few more days before it's actually completed, but not long. We're expecting it to be completed by first part of next week, possibly due to the alignment on the 8th, where we will receive an enormous amount of light essence that will come through an alignment that happens on or around that day. It started a couple of weeks earlier. It's been building up and building up. It's kind of like the sunrise, right? Building up, building up. Then there'll be a crescendo right around that time, probably about midnight GMT time. It'll really start hitting us on the 8th this year. Sometimes it's a little bit early, sometimes it's a little bit later, and then it will start waning, right? We get to keep what comes. It's just that the burst will kind of start waning around that time. Attached to this agreement are many other ancillary agreements, like soul consecration, committing your soul to hell or to the dark side, right? For your security, right? That's a no-no. There were other things that would have affected you as well, such as everybody being cursed if you were to utilize this gold directly, not indirectly through them, such as greed, right? We talk about the 7 deadly sins all the time and how real they are in the spiritual world, whether you're religious or not. You know, they're just there. It's the natural law of things. And so it would have cursed you. So, why did all that happen? Okay, so a couple weeks ago, we talked about the fact that the moon is not a rock, it's a megastructure, right? So it's actually a ship. That ship had been ruled by dark with dark essence for a very long period of time. You've often heard of the moon being associated with Lilith, right? The moon god. Well, turns out Lilith, if you are the one who is supposed to be the head of the Satanist carrot consortium, then you are inhabited by the demon known as Lilith. And who was in that position and why did that have to expire? Well, let me just tell you. See, we have been fending them off from using it, and they have been fending us off by not being able to use it, right? So every time they would go to register this gold with any market, any exchange, or anything like that, we would kick it out and say, hey, you owe us trillions of dollars, depending on where you are. All of Eastern Europe, it would be about 4 quad you owe us, and various currencies now over there. If it was the U.S., God, quadrillions you would owe us if you wanted to use your gold. You already leveraged it, right? We've talked about this. So I've been fighting this lady now, not knowing exactly which person in this whole grand scheme of things, because there were so many, was actually Lilith, right? So got to find Lilith if you want to free the gold. Well, you got to find me if you want to issue money against it anyway. And so here we are battling against each other, right? Left, right, left, right. I'm looking for it, and it's looking for me. So bottom line here is now that her name actually was Mei Hua. In China, in certain circles, they called her the Ma, right? If you're a lower end agency person, you would have known it as headquarters. And that is the person that has driven everything from the pandemic to the clapping of the hands in the almost war with China to the orchestration of the war on the promise of gold will come to you. Remember, Russia's going to the gold standard after they made a deal with Satan's wife. Okay, well, that agreement has now expired. So that's the whole reason why BRICS formed and all of these things were taking place over many, many years, because this woman had been driving all your buses. So, are we going to go to war with China? The answer to the question is, respectively, no, we're not. China doesn't want to go to war with America. America doesn't want to go to war with China because Mei Hua is dead. It became apparent that General Xu was going to try to fake it till you make it, right? I don't know what to do. This just happened a couple of days ago. What do I do? What do I do? Okay, well, I'm going to try to give out orders now to continue doing all of this crazy stuff with zero benefit. Okay. We also claimed back the gold. So we also did that on the same day. So we now have full control and we are clearing the essence so that the gold will now be protected by light essence. This is a quantum physics thing. And it's not a spiritual thing necessarily. It is, but it isn't for people that are listening that don't understand what I'm talking about as it relates to some of the generals or just learning all of this stuff. And that will be completed within the next couple of days, probably on or if not before the 8th, right? So we got the cash, we got the gold, just one girl over here. So now they all had a hard time believing that one lady could do all of this. Now, so here's the other thing we did this week. We leaked the information, all of our notes in detail. And there are pages after pages after pages, only for 1 month, of things that we have accomplished. And that information somehow got to DARPA, to where they ran an intelligence report on me. Now, anytime anyone wants to run an intelligence report on me, I get a notification. My system notifies me. What do I want to do? So I went ahead and I released an intelligence report to DARPA. So I laugh at that, but I won't tell you why. So they got the information, and then overnight, it took them that long to analyze all of the notes. Did these changes actually take place? This next morning, they called the person that leaked it to them up, and they said, yes, they did, and everything is accurate. So some of the things they couldn't decipher because our notes are written a little bit strange sometimes, like put the lock in the key and do this and do that, and things they wouldn't understand because they're written that way for a reason. But anyway, instructions aren't always 100% accurate, So anyway, the point is that they now had a copy, so they started analyzing it. And the funny part is they still can't believe it, some of them. But they could believe that some old Chinese lady could do this all by herself, but not me. Well, 48 hours ago, the archivist had completed doing his global rounds of releasing all of the agreements, all of the expirations, all of the new registrations, such as you are in control of your own soul. We do not need the dark to control our soul. It is our choice and our free will and our decision to do that, right? If that's what we want to do. So that all those things replaced, like the soul consecration agreement and all of these things, and you are no longer cursed within the next couple of days by using gold directly. See, this is why this goes back to some laws that you actually know about, like laws that were passed that Americans can't hold their own gold, right? That's an example, allegedly, right? You can't trade your own gold. You're supposed to trade papers back and forth once it hits the financial system, and so on and so forth. All gold must be hallmarked, so on and so forth. That's why the Vatican's hallmark is actually the Omega symbol, believe it or not. On Dinar Chronicles, you hear about the Omega Project. The Omega Project is how we're all going to get funded. Well, that had to do with the system that no longer exists. It also had to do with the darkness, right? That is the dark side of the lower astral that you are saying you want to win the game. Well, you lost the game, I'm sorry to say. If you are rooting for that side, you need to pick another team because that team's gone. So we do have a few loyalists that are a little bit shocked that there's no instructions coming. And since instructions were given weekly, the next set of instructions would have come on the weekend. Over the weekend this weekend. Will they receive any instructions this weekend? Not from them, unless you have a Ouija board, in which case then possibly. They are not coming back. So that's it. That's done. You can verify it. any way you want. If you're listening to this broadcast, they are gone. And China is so happy about it. Trust me, right? Maybe some people in China are not, but for the majority of them, they are, right? The whole world is ready to move forward. No one wants to play their game anymore, right? Except for you, maybe a few hundred people that just don't understand how the game is really played. Again, so as you are going, and by the way, there are meetings for the first time literally ever. Would you find the CIA in a meeting with the DOD, in a meeting with the NSA, in a meeting with DARPA? But that's happening. The head honchos will meet on Saturday, probably mid-afternoon Eastern time, and then after that, you'll have there will be some foreign militaries also joining, by the way, and other agencies joining from around the world. And this is more about banding together and moving forward in another direction. How many people have to leave planet Earth before you start to realize, hey, why are we doing this? There's no money that's been promised that's ever come, except for the $5 million per general that went over to go talk to Shu, who's no longer here. So that kitty has dried up for you. Not to say they didn't have any money at all, but they don't have that kind of money that you're looking for. Hundreds of billions of dollars they never have. They never, not in a long, long, long time, you know. So I've been battling with the liens on all of these assets, and they've been battling by promising you and controlling governments all over the world. I mean, this woman signed an agreement with 200 and some odd countries. Oh, yeah. Saying they were all getting the gold come the 8th and blah, 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 blah. And I'm sorry to tell you, if you are watching this from another country, Federal Reserve, US Treasury, or anyone else, come Monday, you will still be as broke as you are unless you decide to come talk to us. I have the gold and I have the cash. That's a fact. It's all in the Hall of Records. You can check with your local archivist if you did not get the information. I also know that everyone on this list also got the memo that the two of them have passed away. Well, how do I know that? Because I sent it. Right? I also know all of the couriers that would be sending you orders just in case, right? We're tracking and tracing to see if they actually received any packages prior to the passing of both parties. So we're watching them too. So we will make sure you don't get any orders and any instructions from any Lilith from beyond the grave. Okay? So we have now filled the moon with light essence, right? No, I am not Lilith now. It is filled with light essence and a whole new etherical field. It now belongs to the side of the light. It belongs to Source, our creator, now. So after lots of battles, but it's done. And the gold is now done. It now belongs to Earth itself. It will serve as a benefit for all those that live here and all those that pass through. It is under my guardianship, but I don't own it, you know, and I'm certainly not going to start wars with it. And I certainly don't want to control anyone's country with it. Only thing I want to do is the restoration plan, meaning I want you to restore your countries. If you are going to be in these meetings, there are trillions of dollars in contracts that can go out. We can do that immediately so that you can start, as soon as the essence clears off the golds. We don't want to curse you. So once that's done, the contracts are available immediately. We can build trains. We can build real trains, ones that matter for this country. We don't have to be concerned about controlling the Mexican isthmus. I always say that wrong, anymore. We don't have to worry about, we only need to concern ourselves about each respective nation as it relates to all types of national security, including food security, right? That's an important one that's coming up. And no matter how much Pelosi or anyone else and her respective handlers want to continue on their old path and create new variant number. I don't know what we're on now. I don't keep track anymore. It's just a thing. And lockdowns and whatever this September, that's not going to happen. See, because everybody is expecting orders to start coming out toward mid-September or on the harvest moon. And that's not going to happen either because there's nobody up there to talk to you. Do you have remaining members of both orders on all sides? Yeah, you do. They also have a choice to make. If you are the agencies and you want to continue to take orders from people that have continuously made promises to you, and in some cases for 22 years, and failed and not giving you anything, then you're free to do that. You're also free to go straight to heaven too. We don't know what could happen to you. Some of the operations we're in charge of and some of them we're not. That's already decided, So as you go forward this weekend, I also hear that there is a meeting between the Fed and the Treasury this weekend as well. Now, the Federal Reserve meeting, as you know, affects every country in the world. They have been given the instructions to the central banks forever. They are still giving instructions to all the central banks forever. Okay? I know there's rumors going around saying the alliance is in charge of it now. Well, its agreement has expired with us. So we have had no direct communication with them other than some interim people they put in between me and them. And, there's no contract, there's no nothing. That's also in the National Archives of every single country that is affected by the Federal Reserve, which is the majority of them all. Okay? So you should get a copy of that, read it, decide how you're going to move forward, make educated decisions, not just because some crazy Chinese general said so, or don't have this meeting thinking this weekend that you're going to be the new guy or the lady or whoever, because you're not. It's not going to work. See, these things only worked in the past because they had both sides. They used to have the Alpha AI system, which distributes money via the Fed or other parties in the past before that. And on the other side, they had gold. Now, who's clapping now? That would be me. Do I want to use the gold? Oh, yes, I do. I ask myself, I say, self, do I want to do that? I do. See? That's how easy it is. I don't have to talk to a Chinese lady. I don't have a handler. Don't have a man behind me. And I'm sorry that you think I need that, but I don't, all I have is a green screen. Sad to say. Anyway, well, that is your update for today. We might hear more over the weekend as these meetings progress. If not, we will talk to you either early next week, maybe Monday or Tuesday. So thank you so much for joining us. That's your update for this week.